Hi, welcome to Diamond Delight Edibles. My name is Liz if this is the first time you stop by, and for the rest of you guys, welcome back. Thank you so much. I really truly appreciate all your awesome comments and your wonderful love and support. I do apologize, I've been a little absent for the last couple of months. I've been really pretty sick for a while there. Today's about the first day that I felt good, so yay, I came to make you guys a video. So if you want more details, I put up a video under the community area there, but I'm not going to bore you with the nitty-gritty details here. So let's jump into what I've got for you today. And what I've got for you today are hot chocolate bombs. So what these are, if you haven't seen these yet, are really cool. So they're these chocolate balls, they're the hard chocolate balls, and they're filled with hot chocolate or cocoa, whichever you prefer. And you put them into your mug, add your hot milk, and they turn into hot chocolate. Of course, Canna. But these are just wonderful, and they make awesome gift ideas for the holiday time, which is just coming up right around the corner. I know, I'm sorry. But as I said, they do make great gift ideas. So, without any further babbling on here, let's jump into those ingredients, the equipment that we're going to need to get these made, and let me show you how to make these. Oh, one thing I did tell you, because this recipe today, I mainly just show you how to make the chocolate bombs. If you want to see further details on how to infuse cocoa butter, check out my video on Canna real milk chocolate. And there I show you exactly the details on how to infuse cocoa butter. And yes, you can only use cocoa butter with real chocolate. You cannot use coconut oil or anything else, so please don't ask me that question. Only cocoa butter. So I said, if you need any further details on that, as well as tempering details. All right, so what we're going to need for our Canna Hot Chocolate Bombs is 2 cups of real chocolate. And you want to make it a dark chocolate. It's going to give you a richer flavor. So about 2 cups or 16 ounces. If you've got block chocolate or shaved chocolate, that's what you want to go with, 16 ounces or 2 cups. About 1.5 to 2 cups of hot chocolate powder, and this will be the pre-made hot chocolate powder. It's already done with sugar. If sugar is an issue for you, then you can definitely use just straight cocoa. You don't have to use the pre-made hot chocolate. As I said, I just do it because it's already got the sugar mixed in it. It's just simplicity's sake. If you want to add marshmallows, well, what I did, because these little dehydrated marshmallows are difficult to find, is I just bought a really inexpensive hot chocolate mix, sifted out the hot chocolate, and kept the marshmallows. Yay me! I think if they're available on Amazon, if they are, I'll throw a link down for you. And then I'm going to decorate mine with some salted caramel for the decoration and give my hot chocolate a little hint of salted caramel, but you don't have to do that if you just want to decorate them with milk chocolate lighter to have that contrast. Giddy up, if not, just leave them plain. And then we're going to use, so this can be an and or an or. I'm going to add infused cocoa butter to my chocolate, and I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons. The other thing I'm going to do, this is the and or, I'm going to infuse my hot chocolate with tincture. So as I said, if you've got both, you can do it. If you just got one or the other, there you go. You just add the cocoa butter to your chocolate or tincture to your hot chocolate. All right, so that's it for the ingredients. All right, so the equipment that we're going to need is, you're going to want a double boiler for melting your chocolate. So a glass bowl in a pot, or if you've got a proper double boiler, you can use that, of course. Most people don't, so a bowl that fits snugly, so you don't have steam and stuff coming out the sides. The other is you just want to add enough water towards the bottom. You don't want any water touching the bottom of your bowl because it will get too hot and it will burn your chocolate. Also make sure if it starts boiling a little bit that it's not going to be touching the bottom of the bowl. So you can always melt your chocolate in the microwave, or what I picked myself up is one of these chocolate melting pots. These things are really, really nice. So if you do a lot of chocolate, you may want to take a look at investing in one of these. And what's great about it is because you have total temperature control, although it's in Celsius, so you're in Fahrenheit, you just need to get some conversions. but easy to do. Anyhow, as I said, you can go 30 is about 86 degrees Fahrenheit, I believe, which is your lowest temper for milk chocolate and for milk chocolate and white chocolate. And then it goes up to 80, which for the most part you would never go that high because that's like 165. So, and the reason that these are super nice is you can put your chocolate on and just walk away and leave it for a while. You don't have to stay over the pot and continually stir it. It's kind of nice. Basically, I say it's just idiot proof for melting. I've burnt chocolate before on the double boiler. I step away for a moment. This, I can just drop the heat down, step away, go do what I want, come back, and just adjust my temperature and carry on my merry way. So, besides a way to melt your chocolate, you're going to want a candy thermometer or a chocolate thermometer, measuring spoon, measuring cup, about a 1/4 cup measuring cup, or depending on how much tincture you're going to use, a couple of spatulas, a straight edge cutter, offset spatula, and a straight edge spatula if you've got those, and a whisk. You can use a metal whisk or a silicone whisk for chocolate. Either is okay. You're also going to want a pair of gloves, either silicone or latex or whatever. Really, professional chocolatiers use cotton gloves, but we'll just go with these. This will help prevent you getting fingerprints on your product as you're playing around with it. If you're going to do some decorating, you want a piping bag. And then our mold for our little chocolate bombs. So this is, I believe, about a 1.5 inch mold. I will put up the link for it for you to see exactly which one it is. And we're going to want parchment paper. And the last thing, the method that I'm going to use to temper my chocolate is tabling. If you are going to do tabling, you need a marble slab or another natural stone slab. Oops, things are falling. Is a natural slab, as I said, or marble. And I actually got this from a table, so. All right, let me get that out of the way. And we're going to need a bowl. We're doing our hot chocolate and our tincture, a baking dish with parchment paper, and you're going to want a fine mesh strainer and a bowl. I think that's about it. Of course, you know, I always forget something along the way, but if I do, I'll let you know. All right, so let's jump right in and let's get our hot chocolate infused with our tincture. All right, so to infuse our cocoa or our hot chocolate, whichever you're using, get your powder, get your strainer, and we're just going to sift this through just to take out any lumps. So you don't want all those lumps and stuff in your mix. Now I'm going to use about a 1/4 cup for 2 cups for a hot chocolate mix. Oh, another thing with regards to your hot chocolate mix, I forgot to tell you. Read the directions on how much you need. So there are some, usually the less expensive ones will be like 4 heaping tablespoons or 4 heaping teaspoons. You want to make sure you don't really have any more than 2 tablespoons. Less is better. It's hard to get it in those balls and get them together. So you want to make sure that your hot chocolate instructions are for at least 2 tablespoons or under. Just a helpful tip for you there. This is my Green Dragon tincture. And I'm just going to put a little bit on it first. Use my whisk. Whisk her in. And you want to add in a little bit at a time, because if you use an alcohol that is not a 94 or 96%, you're going to have a lot more water. You want to be careful of that because you're going to end up making it pasty. So just add in a little bit at a time. If you notice it getting clumpy or pasty, stop. If you're using the 94 and 96, you can get away with a lot more. But as I said, just do it a bit at a time. If you notice it getting pasty at all, stop. You can always add more later, so you can evaporate the batch, and you can always add on as a secondary level if you want to make it really, really strong. I, however, don't really like to render people unconscious, but hey, whatever floats your boat. And then I'm going to take my strainer again. And you want to preheat your oven to 175 degrees. If you're doing this in an electric oven, I do not recommend doing this in a gas oven. Some people have done it successfully, others have not. Always err on the side of caution. And flame and alcohol, don't mix. And you can also use a dehydrator, or you can always leave it out overnight. If you have to do the table dry method, just leaving it out overnight, you're going to want to sift it a few times throughout the day. And there we go. So I'm going to pop this into the oven at 175 on the middle rack. I'm going to leave the oven door slightly ajar. I have a ceiling fan going. Always make sure that you have some type of ventilation going. Don't ever take it for granted. You can do this 100 times with no problems, and then one time you do it without ventilation and there can be a problem. So, very scary. So what I usually do is I spread it out on the rack, trying onto the tray nice and evenly. And then I just put little gash marks in it here, just so it can heat up through. And as I said, pop that in the oven, keep the door slightly ajar, and it'll probably take about 10-20 minutes for that to evaporate. So what I'll do is every couple of minutes I'll go with one of my spatulas and just move the hot chocolate powder around and then reflatten it out. So this way it brings the heated from the bottom to the top, and it helps to evaporate it quicker. And if there's any large lumps, you want to just mush them out. Alright, so we'll be back when that's done. Alright, so my hot chocolate is done. Let's take it from the oven. Now, a test that you can do to see if it's done, to make sure it's done, is it's only at 175 degrees, not that hot. If you have really sensitive skin, don't do this. But if you've got tougher hands, just run it over your hands and let it go. And then if you feel any coolness on your hands from the air, that means you still have some alcohol left. So throw it in a little bit longer. If it's totally dry, you're good to go. So we're just going to set that off to the side till the end time when we're going to need that. Next, on to our chocolate. Alright, so for our chocolate, if you are using a double boiler, you want to put it on medium-low. As I said, you don't want it to get too hot. Chocolate melts at a very, very low temperature. So, I'm using my pot. I'm going to just add in my chocolate. And I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of melted infused cocoa butter. If you want to learn more about how to infuse cocoa butter and tempering chocolate, check out my video, Canna Real Milk Chocolate. And I go over all those steps and details for you. So I like to melt my cocoa butter first and add it onto my chocolate and then mix it over all of my chocolate. I just found that it just blends a lot better this way. When I do it the other way, where I use cold cocoa butter, I found a few more times than not, I ended up with streaking. In this method, I don't. Just a little tip I'm giving you. Oops! That pot's a wee bit small. So I'm just going to continue to stir that until she all melts down nicely. And as I said, because I'm using this melting pot, I can go toddle away for a couple of minutes. I would just drop my temperature down. Right now I'm doing this for melting the chocolate. I am doing it between 50 and 55 Celsius. And over in this pot over here, I'm just melting my salted caramel. Yeah, the salted caramel chips, you can get them, I found them in most grocery stores, a Bulk Barn. They're really easy to come by. Now, if anyone's going to ask me, can you do this with butter or anything else, coconut oil? No, you cannot. The only thing that you can add to real chocolate is cocoa butter. And the reason for that is the temperature at which the cocoa butter melts. Butter and coconut oil melt at a very low temperature at like 79, 80 degrees. It'll start to melt. So if you use those, your chocolate will never ever stay set at room temperature. And that is the reason. So if you see any recipes that are using butter in that, don't bother trying it. Don't waste your time. Unless you plan on keeping them in the fridge and then using them right out of the fridge. Then you're fine. But if you want them to stay set, no, will not work. So just a little tip for your chocolate. If you're using a block chocolate, you want to make sure that you cut it up really, really, really fine. Using a serrated edge knife works really well for that. Same thing if you're using larger chunks, you want to chop them down to smaller size. It helps them to melt quicker. And if you're using a double boiler in that, you don't have to worry so much about with it burning. If you have really large chunks and really small chunks, it takes a lot longer for those big ones to melt and you can burn your chocolate. That's why I just said I found these melting pots just so nice. Just temperature control. Like I said, it's just a nice toy. It's not a necessity for making chocolate. It's a nice to have. What would be super nice to have is a tempering machine, chocolate tempering machine. Those things are expensive, especially the good ones. So I'm just continuing to melt my chocolate down here. And once it's all melted, we're going to get it to temperature of 113 degrees Fahrenheit. That's for dark chocolate. If you're doing milk chocolate or white chocolate, it'd be about 108, 109. Now, if you're microwaving your chocolate with about 2 cups or 16 ounces, you're going to start with 2 30-second intervals and then drop down to 20, 15, 10, and then continue at 10-second intervals until you reach the temperature that you need. So as I said, for dark chocolate, 113 Fahrenheit. For milk or white chocolate, 109. So our chocolate is almost all melted. So I'm just going to check the temperature right now to see where we're at. I'm going to guess about 100. 99. I was close. So with your chocolate, with your thermometer, if you're using one of these type, always clean off the end so that you get a correct read, because the chocolate will harden up on the end of your thermometer and it can cause a misread. So I'm just going to continue to stir this until we get to our temperature. So I'm just going to check it every couple of minutes. Another thing to remember is that water is chocolate's mortal enemy. If you get even a drop of water in your chocolate, it can seize. If that does happen, don't panic. Get your sunflower or soy lecithin and put in just a drop or two. That can help save it. It can help loosen it up. So where in most cases we use those as an emulsifier, in chocolate it works for its viscosity. So it'll help thin out chocolate. So always make sure that your equipment, whatever you're going to use, is thoroughly clean and dried. I generally do not use wooden handled spatulas or anything, because wood can retain moisture. So I've done that before where I was doing chocolate and stirring away and it seized on me because the handle was damp. So yay! So I tend to like to stick to the solid silicone type spoons. I find work best. Alright, so we're at 113 for the dark chocolate. You want to turn your heat off, take it off your heat. And you want to make sure your marble stone area, work area, is completely clean and again 100% dry. So in the previous video I showed you tabling. This is a slightly different method. In the other video I still used temperature to get us to that point. This does not. So what you do is you take half of your chocolate, if I can gauge what half is. You set your melted chocolate off to the side. Then you get your straight edge, and your offset spatula, and you're going to work the two, use the two. The agitation is what is going to create our beta crystals that we need. And this, what we're going to do is we're going to work the chocolate until it thickens up. So this can, oops, you don't do that. Try and stay on the table, but make sure to get all the chocolate from the sides, get that scooted in. The cold from the side is what helps to start thickening up your chocolate. I have found this has become my favorite way for tempering. Might take a couple of times for you to try it, but as I said, if you don't temper the first time, you just remelt it, do it again. And continue to clean off your blades. My coordination's not so good. Our chocolate's beginning to thicken up here a little bit. Almost getting to where we want it to be. Yeah, professional chocolatiers are way neater at this. So you can see the chocolate starting to thicken up now. It's not flooding out as quickly. Just going to go a little bit further. Almost done. I just found this method far quicker and more efficient. I hate the other ways. Very few times do I ever get it right. So you can see our chocolate's thickened up here. It's not as fluid, and it's starting to harden as it goes out to the sides. So this looks about where we want it to be. Scoop up your chocolate. Get those little pieces melted there. Now we're going to take the half chocolate that we have, and we're going to add in our thickened chocolate. Again, chocolatiers make this look far more impressive. I just look like, what the hell am I doing? But trust me, it works. Then get your whisk. Where'd my whisk go? And you're going to mix it together until it becomes one texture. The same texture. It all gets mixed together and melts those two different textures together and becomes one. Nice, smooth, and silky. And the color's all the same. That looks pretty good. Now we're going to get our mold. Oh, looks good. And you're going to fill that up. Fill them up to their tops. You don't have to worry about being too neat. You want to be pretty quick. Mix, get that moved around. And then you can try and dump it into your pot, or you can just pour it onto the parchment paper and scoot it off. Or pour it onto the board and scoot it off. So you want to drain out the excess. Get your straight edge spatula, and you want to scrape off all this excess off the top. You want to try and make sure your molds are nice and clean at the tops. And again, you can move the chocolate around. And we're going to dump out the excess. And again, we're going to clean the excess off the top here. Give her a little smack down, get out any air bubbles. Make sure, and then also make sure this is even. Now what I like to do is to place them upside down on a parchment lined board and pop them into the fridge to set. This way you don't get this big hunk of chocolate set at the bottom of your mold. Get that out of the way. Again, just take it if there's any excess. This will save you having a big lip. What we want to try and create is a nice little edge. Again, I'm going to scrape off that top. Then I'm going to flip this upside down on my board here. I'm going to pop this in the fridge for about, then with your leftover chocolate here, just grab your pot, and we're just going to scoop it back in the pot and retemper it again for the second round. So I think you can do this with candy melts. The only problem, if you don't want to do chocolate tempering in that, the only problem is I don't know how well or how easily they melt with in the hot milk and or cream. But what you could always do to find out ahead of time makes it bleh. What you could always do is just do a quick test melt. You don't have to infuse anything. Just melt some candy melts up into the ball shape and see how they melt in warm milk. If they melt up nicely, then absolutely you could just use candy melts and you don't have to go through all this tempering chocolate. Alright, so while my first layer there are cooling in the refrigerator, I'm just going to remelt my chocolate back up to the 113 Fahrenheit and then just retemper it again. Like I said, it may take you a couple of times to get this, but if you can get down this method, honestly, it's so much easier. And it makes you feel more professional. So see our molds now, see how nice they are? Nice and even. So again, we're going to fill them up. I don't know where I'm going. Let's get that out of the way for a minute. So we want to get that mixed around, get that coated. And again, we'll just dump out the excess on our parchment paper. And then we're going to scrape off this excess. Again, you want to try and get the tops here as clean as you can. Make getting your chocolate out of your mold a lot easier. You just want to kind of smack out air bubbles here a little bit. And then again, we're going to dump out the excess. So the reason that you want to make sure to be getting out all the excess chocolate is just to have a really nice even mold of your chocolate. You won't end up with a big lump of chocolate in the base of them. Again, I'm going to clean off the excess. And then one more time. And then we're going to do one final scrape here. And I'm going to flip her upside down onto my parchment board here and pop them in the fridge here for about 15-20 minutes. And then your leftover chocolate you can just keep in a plastic container and just save it for next time. There we go, you can recoup most of your chocolate. Especially when it's expensive, you do not want to be wasting too much. And the other thing you can do is just take your parchment paper, if you want to make sure to get all your chocolate pretty much, put that in the refrigerator. Once it cools up, all of that will just crumble right off. However, I'm not going to bother today. Alright, so we'll let those cool up. Then next we'll decorate them, fill them, and put them together. Alright, so on to decorating. If you're going to decorate, go to this step. If not, you can skip on to the filling part. So we've got our molds and they're all nicely set. So you want to very gently take them out. This is when you want to put your gloves on because you do not want to get fingerprints all over your pretty little balls. And now you'll know your chocolate, if chocolate is tempered by when you touch it. If it instantly melts, then it is not tempered. But if it stays, then it's good. And it's not instantly melting on your fingers, then you're good. If it is not tempered, they're not going to be as pretty and shiny. They'll be a little bit dull or streaky. And as well as I said, as soon as you touch them, they will like instantly melt on your fingers. So I've just put my salted caramel into a disposable piping bag. And I'm just going to cut a little hole here. And then, woo. Probably should do this on a wire rack, duh. I knew I needed one. So place a wire rack down and then put some parchment paper underneath that. And I'm going to pop these in the fridge, let that set up for just a couple of minutes. While that's setting up, well, let's get our hot chocolate ready. So again, get your strainer, and I've got a bowl here. Oops! Pay attention. So, we'll just dump our hot chocolate into our strainer, and we'll just strain it through, take out all the lumps. Alright, so on to our final step here. Everything's set here, so we're going to fill them up and seal them up. So what I've done here is I've got some tempered chocolate that I put into a piping bag, and I put a really, really tiny hole at the inlet tip. So you're going to flip your little guys over. If they're a little stuck to your rack here, just get a little spatula and gently scoop those off. In my hot chocolate, its recipe is 2 tablespoons. So I'm going to do 1 into each side. So these get a little tricky to stick together. And then I'm going to take some marshmallows, throw those in. I'm just going to make a little, type that around the edge here. Carefully come together like so, and stick them together. And then you can just gently, with your finger, just scoot off the excess off the edges here. And then what I'll use is, where'd they go? Is the medium size, or I think these are the medium size or small muffin cups to hold them in. See? Pretty! Again, we want to get that nice, get a little edge on it. So take your 2, make sure your designs are going the same way. And scoot them together gently. Not the prettiest one, but oh well. Can't be perfect. We'll use that for the tester. And there you have it. Hot chocolate bombs. La la la. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to heat up some milk and we're going to give her a shot, give her a try, see how they turn out. Alright, so I've got some boiled milk here. Let's check out how our bomb does. I'll use the ugly one. So we just plop her into our cup here. And I like to use a whisk. We pour our hot milk. I like to do a mixture of cream and milk. I just find milk, I don't really like it. And look at her start to melt. So what I like to do is to put just about a quarter in and get her mixed up. Use the whisk, get her all nicely mixed up. Oh, let's fill her up. And there we have it. Some yummy, yummy hot chocolate bombs. That was good. That was a perfect amount. Yum, yum. Well, before I can't finish out this video, because if I keep going on this hot chocolate, I'm going to bid you a fair adieu. So I hope you enjoyed that video. Thank you guys so much for joining, and I would like to thank everybody for your love and support. You guys are truly, truly awesome. So thanks again for joining me, and I hope you have a